Williams, personal trainer and yoga teacher. And I'm here today to teach a strength training class that I teach at the yoga studio that I teach at Harmony Yoga Center. And it's a strength training class for yogis, but it's also appropriate for anyone who would like to learn how to get stronger using weights and resistance bands and body weight exercises. And we also work on mobility drills as well to work on improving your range of motion. And so I believe that when we work to get stronger and improve range of motion, it will also help not only our yoga practice so that we can be stronger on our yoga mat, but also out in the world, which right now looks a little different than what we've been used to. And so a lot of us are having to make some major adjustments, meaning that we can't go out and do the things that we love. But for now, I hope that this video and future videos will keep a connection going between us, and it just gives me so much gratitude to know that you're on the other end of this screen receiving this class. So, all right, let's get started. So, if you have some weights at home, today we'll likely be using two 10-pound weights, two 5-pound weights. If you have 8-pounders, you can use those as well, or in place of the 5s or 10s. And then I just put 3s out here because some people may want to use those as well. I have a variety of resistance bands. These resistance bands are the looped kind, so they're already in a loop. If you have resistance bands at home, maybe you got a resistance band from a physical therapist or something like that, you can tie it into a circle there. And we'll be working with a lighter resistance band. And so this brand is Balance From. You can get them on Amazon.com. And this particular one is the lightest. It's XX Light. And we'll be using that to warm up our rotator cuff muscles at the beginning of class. And then we'll also be using a light or medium band for some outer hip work, clamshells. So if you have a little bit of a heavier resistance band than the one that you use for your rotator cuff, then grab that one as well. Okay, you don't need the bands, but if you have them, that's great. Also, I have a towel just in case we sweat and some water. All right. So last thing here, everything that we do as far as with the amount of repetitions with the weights and the bands, of course, you can modify or adjust. I'm going to recommend about 15 repetitions. So we're working with your endurance and your stamina. We're not looking to bulk up or to get extremely strong here. So we're working more with lighter weights and higher repetitions. So keep that in mind. And if you feel like your form is crumbling, you're not doing things in good form, maybe you notice a knee is not feeling quite right after the weight, or you're getting really fatigued, then go ahead and stop and just take a little break, and then consider maybe going down in weight the next time around. And also, if things are too easy and you find that you could probably keep going 25 repetitions, you might consider increasing the weight. Okay, so let's get started. We'll start up on our feet. And so we'll start with our feet about hip bone distance apart. And we'll just take the tips of our fingers on top of the shoulder heads, or maybe even at the clavicles if you can't quite reach the shoulder heads. And bring your elbows about shoulder height. And from here, we'll just start to make some circles in the air with the elbows. So we're not making our biggest, widest circles here. Improving range of motion through the shoulder joint, lubricating the shoulder joint here. And you might spiral those circles out a little bit larger. Good, and then we'll reverse the direction of those circles. You might start off with bigger circles and spiral back in towards that distance of shoulder apart. Excellent. We'll release the arms down now. And I'll have you grab your band if you're using a band for rotator cuff. Again, that's the lightest band. And from here, we're just going to take the band and place it around the outer hand, the thumb on top. Start with your elbows right underneath your shoulders with a nice upright posture here. So you want to feel a little bit of resistance into the band. You'll take a breath in, and then as you exhale, rotate your arms out away from the midline. Try to keep your elbows in towards the rib cage, and then back in towards the midline as you inhale. Exhale, rotate your arms out about 15 to 30 degrees. Inhale back in towards the center. And we'll continue at this pace. Each time you exhale, you're rotating away from the midline. Each time you inhale, you're coming back to that starting position. And so the area that we're focusing on, as I mentioned, is the rotator cuff muscles. Those are there are 4 rotator cuff muscles that are in each shoulder, but the 2 that we're targeting are your external rotators. So your infraspinatus, your teres minor. And those are on the outer lower borders of your shoulder blades. So keeping the shoulder strong and healthy, and that will help to improve how we are able to lift our weights here, chest presses and rows. The last 2 here. Good, your shoulders should feel nice and warm by now. We'll go ahead and place that band down. You won't be using it for the remainder of class. Now from here, we're going to be doing some half sun salutations, just to warm up the hips and the backs of the legs. So you can come to the top of your mat. Once again, feet about hip bone distance apart. Starting with your ears above your shoulders above your hips above your heels. Eyes are forward at horizon level. And from here, we're going to sweep the arms out and up on an in-breath. Just get a little taller here. And on your exhale, hinge from your hips. And take your hands down to your shins. You might round your back, let your head release here. And then on your inhale, slide your hands up to the tops of your shins. Try not to lock the knees. Lengthen your spine. But exhale, forward fold once again. And then as you inhale, lengthen your spine. Let's sweep the arms out. Take the fingertips up towards the sky. And then on your exhale, join your hands together at your heart center. We'll do that twice more. Inhale, sweep the arms out and up. Exhale to hinge from the hips. You may slide your hands down towards the ankles, round the spine. Inhale to halfway lift, lengthening from tailbone to crown of head. Exhaling, forward fold. Inhaling, grounding through the feet. Sweep the arms out and up as you rise. Exhale, join the hands together at the heart space. And last time here, sweep the arms out and up, inhale. Exhale, forward fold. Halfway lift on your in-breath. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, rise up, reach up. Stretch your arms up. Exhale, bring your hands together at your heart space. Just take another breath in and out here. The next exercise that we're doing is it's called a walk out. So we're walking out into a plank. So I'd like for you to start at the back end of your mat. You might turn around from where you were, so you have space here. And so we'll start off much like we did in the half sun salutation, sweeping the arms out and up to get a little more length through the spine, exhaling to hinge from the hips. This time take your hands, palms down to the floor, and slowly start to walk your hands out. You might have to take another breath in here, and I'm trying to minimize the movement of the pelvis. When you get into that plank position, you'll pause there, shoulders over wrists, head lifted in line with the spine, and then walk your hands back in towards the feet. Again, minimal movement from the pelvis. Once you're grounded into the feet, the hands are closer to the feet, you'll inhale, rise up, reach the arms up. You'll exhale, forward fold. You'll inhale to walk your hands forward into plank. You'll pause there for just a moment at the bottom of that inhale. You'll exhale to slowly walk the hands back in towards the feet. Inhale to rise up, reach the arms up. Exhale to forward fold, palms to the floor. Walk the hands out, plank pose. Inhaling here. Good. On your exhale, walk the hands back in towards the feet. Inhale, rise up, reach up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, walk the hands forward, plank pose. Exhale, walk the hands back, forward fold. Inhale, rise up, reach up. Last time, exhale, forward fold. Inhale, plank. Exhale, walk the hands back. Inhale, rise up, reach up. And exhale, hands to heart. Just pausing here, one breath, in and out. All right, we should be warm by now. We do have one more warm-up exercise before we start with the weights. So this is called the clamshell. I'm going to be using a light band. That's the third of the more challenging here. And so you will be lying on your side. If you want to use a blanket folded underneath your head, you certainly can. We're going to place the band, wrap it around both of the legs so that it's above your knees. Okay? And we'll lie on the right side. I just want to make sure the head is in line with the spine. Prop the head up. And my knees are going to be bent 90 degrees, so bend your knees 90 degrees. The knees below the height of the navel, maybe even a little lower. The top hand can act as a support, and make sure you keep your pelvis level so it doesn't roll forward or back. That's really important. I'm going to keep the inner edges of my feet together the whole time. So we'll start off by taking a breath in here through the nostrils. And as I exhale, I'm going to lift my top thigh, knee, calf, feet are together, and inhale, slowly lower that leg down. So each time I exhale, I'm lifting that top leg. We're really focusing on that outer hip working. Exhaling to lift, inhaling to lower. If you want to challenge yourself, you might take that top hand off of the floor, take the fingertips to the hip. Some people like to reach that top hand up towards the sky. You're probably feeling a little bit of fatigue happening in the outer hip. And if you're feeling some fatigue at this point or any burning sensation, Maybe do 2 more. We're going to try for last 3. Again, try not to let your pelvis rock back to get those last ones in. Excellent. All right, I'm really feeling a good strong burn on that outer hip, those glute medius, glute minimus muscles. I'm going to push myself up and move to the other side of the mat so you all can see here. You might just roll over from where you are. Okay, so now I'm on the left side. My head is supported. Inner edges of the feet are together. I'm going to keep my hips stacked and the inner edges of the feet together. And so take a deep breath in here. And as you exhale, lift that top knee, thigh, calf away from the bottom leg. And inhale to lower it back down. You might notice that one side, one hip feels weaker than the other, or this feels more challenging on one side compared to the other. That's totally normal. We all have imbalances in our body, so just keep that in mind. If you haven't already lifted your hand off the floor, you might try to bring your hand to your hip, or maybe even reach the fingertips up towards the ceiling. And we have 4 more repetitions here if you're still with me. I'm just keeping an even pace here, not trying to rush through. Yeah, that was the last one there. Okay. So you can go ahead and push yourself up, and we'll take that band off. We're not going to be using the bands for the remainder of the class. So we won't be using the blanket either for now. The next thing that we're doing is strengthening the hamstrings, the glutes, and even the muscles along the spine with a hip extension. And so I'm going to grab a 10-pound weight. Some of you might have a 15-pound weight, that's fine. I'm going to lie down on my back here. The knees are going to be bent, the feet hip distance apart, and my head in neutral. So from here I'm going to grab the weight and place it just right at about where the hip points are, the ASIS joints, below the navel. I'm going to hold on to that weight so it doesn't roll. And so as I press through the 4 corners of my feet, as I exhale, I'm going to lift my hips. This is not like a big yogi bridge, so we're not trying to thrust our upper chest and rib cage up. Okay. So each time you inhale, you're going to lower your pelvis back down to neutral. And each time you exhale, squeeze your glutes and your hamstrings to lift the hips up. You might just notice here as you're continuing to lift on your exhalation, if there's one side, like one side of your gluteals or hamstrings that seems to be working stronger than the other side. Like I notice right now my right leg wants to do more work than the left leg, so I'm just going to put my mind over into the left side as well. And really try to have some equal power coming through both of the legs and glutes there. Hope you're still with me. We've done about 10. We'll do 5 more. Keep that breath going. Exhaling to lift. Last one. Great, so that's a great way to modify a squat. Gets those legs nice and strong, that back line of the body nice and strong there. So you're just gonna rock and roll up into a seat. And I'm gonna grab my second heaviest weight. So we've got 2 10-pounders here. What we're going to be doing next is what's called a bench press or a dumbbell chest press. We don't have a bench, so we'll be working with the floor. So a couple of pointers before you get started. I like to have the weights against my upper thighs, close to the knee, and then really use the strength of my core to lower myself down onto the floor. So I'm keeping the weights onto the thighs as I roll back onto my back, then lower the feet and straighten the arms. So you'll turn your palms so that they're facing in the same direction of your knees there, of your toes. And pretend that you have one straight bar in between the hands, not two dumbbells. And you want to try to keep that bar even, straight across. So as you inhale, you're going to lower your elbows down towards the floor. So you create a 90-degree bend at the elbows. And then as you exhale, you'll press your arms up and in. So it's in an inhale that you lower down, elbows bent 90 degrees. Exhale, use your chest muscles to press your arms to straight. A couple of things as you're continuing to move here through these ranges of motion to keep in mind is that when you're lowering your elbows down, your elbows, again, 90 degrees, wrists above the elbows, and also trying to keep the elbows about 5 to 8 degrees below the tops of the shoulders. Last 5, everyone. Old habits die hard. I'm used to teaching to a room full of strong yogis. Last one, guys. Okay, to come out, lift your legs up. You're going to press the thighs into your legs just to give you some momentum to come forward. I'm getting a little warm now. All right, let's come back onto our back for some crunches. We'll keep the feet on the floor. Try to maintain a little curve in your low back. So we're not going to be tipping the pelvis in our crunches. I like to take my hands behind the back of the head, interlace the fingers, and keep the back of the neck long and the head pressing back into the hands. Lift your elbows a little bit so you can see them out of the corners of your eyes as you look up. Take a breath in. As you exhale, lift your head and shoulders with the strength of your upper abdominals. Try not to pull your head and neck. Inhale to unravel the spine back down, and exhale, curl up. Now if you exhale out of your mouth, like you're blowing out a birthday candle, or several, you'll feel your abdominal wall contract more. So you get more bang for your buck. Remember what I said earlier, try not to round your low back or posteriorly tuck your pelvis. Press your head back into your hands. Five more. Are you still with me? Last one, everyone. Great. Let's take a moment here. We've been going pretty fast here. All right. So you can rock and roll up. All right, we're going to make our way up into a standing position. And we'll be working with a squat. So those of you that are new to this, if you don't want to use any weight, great. You'll just interlace your fingers just right in front of the chest. Those of you that want to use a weight, you might grab your heaviest weight, hold the heads of the dumbbells, bend your elbows, and bring the weight towards the top of your chest there. Okay? Now to find your squat stance. Stand with your feet about shoulder distance apart. Rock forward and back a few times with your legs pretty straight. Try not to lock the knees. And as you rock forward and back onto the heels and the toes, you're not trying to force anything to stay the way it is. We're just letting our body, its intuitive wisdom come out here. And then after about 10 times like that, you look down at your feet. For me, my thighs and my feet rotated out. So you can see my toes are turned out a little bit. And you might look down at your feet and see, are the toes still pointing forward? In that case, keep your toes pointing forward as you take your feet wide. If they rotated out, see if you can keep that same angle of your thighs and your feet as you step your feet out a few inches. Okay, so for me, this is my squat stance. It feels best in my hip sockets. There's no pinching that's happening here when I take this squat stance. Okay, and so hopefully that's what you'll feel too. No pinching, no discomfort. Interlace your fingers or grab your weight. You'll inhale to sit your hips back. Try to keep your spine neutral, so your chest lifting. Exhale as you come up. Inhale, sit hips back. Exhale, come up. Inhale, hips back. Exhale, driving through those feet to rise up. So strengthening the upper legs, the quadriceps, the hamstrings, and your gluteal muscles, your butt muscles. I always tell my students, we're here to create smart asses, so stronger butts. Well, the fear for a lot of people is that they're going to fall backwards if they take those hips back. So just trust that your legs are strong, that they can support you. Last two, everyone. Excellent. Okay. If you were using a weight, you can set that down. I'm going to take a little sip of water. Maybe towel off if you need to. Okay, so next thing we're doing is called a suitcase deadlift. I like to use my heavier weights here. So I have 2 10s today that I'm working with. So stand with your feet about shoulder distance apart. You have the weights in each hand. It's like you're holding a suitcase on either side of your hips. Your eyes are forward. Now on your inhalation, you'll hinge forward from your hips. Keep your spine neutral. Try not to round your back. A neutral spine, shoulders engaged. Then as you exhale, stand. The weights will go back next to the hips. So it's an inhale, hinge from the hips. The weights are about at the tops of the shins or mid-shin. Exhale, back up to standing. One of the things you want to watch for is that you're not locking your knees. And whenever you're hinging forward from the hips, try to keep your knees over your heels. Last 5. Keeping your head in line with your spine. Try not to bring your chin too close in towards the chest as you're hinging forward. Last one. Good. Okay. blanket, I would recommend that you use it. I'm going to be facing you. Bicep curls in a tall, kneeling position. So if you have 5s or 8s, you can use those. I'm going to lower myself down here. If you need to use your hands to set your knees onto the floor, feel free to do that. We'll step the right foot forward. The right heel underneath the right knee. Tack your right hip down. Turn your palms to face forward. Eyes forward, chest lifted. Take a breath in. Exhale, bicep curl. Inhale, straighten the arms. Keep the chest lifted. Good, let's switch to the other side so the other foot is forward. If you want to take the weights down to the floor to switch, you can, bringing the right knee back and the left foot forward. Rising back up, palms face forward. Okay, take a breath in. Oh yeah, make sure you tack that left hip down so your sides are equally long. Here we go. Inhale. Exhale, keep the elbows in towards your sides as you curl. So strengthening those biceps. Three more. Last one. Okay, set those weights down. Now from here, we're coming into what I call a bird dog. So this strengthens your low back and your abdominals. So the modified version today will just be working with the legs lifting. Sometimes I'll lift an arm as well, but today we're just going to be working with the legs. So I'm patting my knees, coming into tabletop with hands under the shoulders, knees under the hips, and a neutral spine. So I'm trying to unlock my elbows, keep them unlocked. And on an inhale, I'm going to reach my right leg up to parallel to the floor. Just getting a little bit of extension through the right gluteals, keeping the tummy firm. And as I exhale, bring the right knee forward. Bring it all the way in towards the navel, round the back. Lastly, bring your head in towards your knee. Again, re-extend on the inhale. On the exhale, bring the knee in towards the navel, round the spine, nose in towards the knee. 3 more times, inhale, exhale. Head comes in last. And finishing here. Come back into tabletop, send your hips back to a quick child's pose. Catch your breath. And returning back into tabletop. Extend the left leg behind you, parallel to the floor. Squeeze the left glute. Keep the belly firm. As you exhale, knee in towards the navel. Round the back, head in towards the knee. Inhale, re-extend left leg. Exhale, knee in, nose in towards knee. 3 more. Just moving with your breath. Last 2. And 1. Set that left knee down, child's pose. Take a couple breaths here. So next up, we'll be working with a row in tabletop. So I'm going to grab my heavier weight, my 10-pounder, just one weight, and you'll go ahead and place that weight into the right hand, left hand underneath left shoulder, knees under the hips, and you can take that weight back a little bit. So firm through your left arm. Keep your spine neutral. Take a breath in. As you exhale, lift the weight in your right hand, bend the elbow, and inhale, tap the weight back down, or you might even firm that weight down. So exhaling to lift, inhaling to lower. This works your core, your back, your quads. Everything's working here. See if you can get about 2 to 5 more repetitions in. Last one there. Good. Firm through your right hand and grab the weight with your left. And it's getting warm in here. Should open a window. All right, setting yourself up, neutral spine, firm core. Ready? Inhale. As you exhale, lift that left elbow, squeeze your left shoulder blade towards the spine. Inhale to set the weight back down. Keep going. Exhaling on the exertion, on the lift. And we're trying to maintain minimal movement or rotation through the pelvis, through the spine. And 2 to 5 more. Last one, guys. Excellent. All right. So we are going to come back up to standing to work with our squat again. We'll also be doing our deadlift, and then we'll finish off with a chest press and some crunches. So we're just kind of coming back around. So go ahead and move your blanket. Find your squat stance. Shoulder distance apart with your feet. Rock back and forth a few times. Keeping the legs firm, not locked at the knees. Look down, see if you have a turnout. Keep that turnout. Step a little wider than your shoulders. Take the weight up or your hands up to the chest. And we begin. Inhaling, sit your hips back into your squat. Exhale, rise. Follow your breath. See if you can feel that the 4 corners of your feet are grounded down, that your toes are not lifting. See if you were still with me here. 5 more. You want to get warrior strength. We gotta sometimes push outside of our comfort zone. I think I'm doing 1 extra. Can't always count to 15. All right, so 2 10-pounders. You might have your 8s or 5s. For your suitcase deadlift, feet are shoulder distance apart. Neutral spine to start. Unlock those knees, guys. Good. Take a breath in. Hinge from your hips. As you inhale there, exhale, rise up. Try not to let the weight of the dumbbells and the gravity to pull your arms out of socket. So keep your heads of your arm bones rooted. Feeling the strength around the shoulders there. Let's do 3 more. All right. We're going to make our way onto our backs. So you set the weights down. You want to make sure that you have your weight for your chest press. So I'm going to grab those weights, place them to the thighs. Rock and roll onto my back. Arms up, feet to the floor. Neutral spine. So as you inhale, you're going to bend your elbows 90 degrees. Exhale, press up and in. Use your chest. This will help those of you that do yoga to be able to hold your planks, your tabletops, your chaturangas, your crow pose. If you don't do yoga, it'll help you to be able to push things through the world. Five more. So close to being done. Last one. Good. Waist to the thighs, rock and roll up. I'm just going to set my weight off to the side, setting up for a crunch. Coming back onto my back, interlace the fingers behind the head. And keep that space of like an orange between your chin and your throat. Try not to squish the orange. Try not to squish juice out of the orange. Neutral spine, elbows lift. Take a breath in here at the bottom. As you exhale, use your abdominal muscles to lift your upper back. We're not doing sit-ups. We're doing a crunch. It's control, just working the upper abdominal fibers. Still keeping that neutral curve in the low back so we don't flatten it out or imprint it into the floor. Ten more. I know we all move at different paces here. Five more, I'll count them with you. 5, 4, 3, 2, last one. All right, head down, arms to the floor. We'll finish off with a few stretches today. So we're already on the floor here, so we're just going to lift the right leg up, straighten the knee as if you're stepping your foot onto the ceiling there. Rotate your right thigh bone out externally, bend the right knee, take your outer right ankle to your left thigh. Keeping your neutral spine again, so try not to flatten the small of your back. Some of you might be feeling some sensation of stretch through the outer right hip, all the way to the outer right knee. If not, and you want a little more, you can lift the left foot off the floor. Reach up and grab the back of your left thigh and release the fingers. And set the head back down to the floor. So this is our cool down. So just enjoying the breath here.
This is terrible, isn't it? I am not making legs this.
I work with next door. There's a lovely person that lives next or works next door, so you might hear her voice occasionally, but she's such a delight. One of those people that you just want to be around. Release the left foot down, the right foot down, neutral spine, left leg lifts up, flex the foot as if you're stepping on the ceiling at first here. Rotate the left thigh bone out, bend the left knee, continue to rotate the left thigh bone out. We're not pushing the thigh out with the hand, we're just encouraging the rotation with the strength of our own rotators there. You might stay here, or if you'd like, lift your head and shoulders at first to grab the back of the right thigh. Draw the right thigh in, lower head and shoulders to the floor. And notice if you flatten the small of your back. See if you can bring your tailbone a little closer to the floor by tilting your pelvis into anterior. Just making a little tunnel underneath your low back. Excellent. Let's lower the right foot down, then the left foot down. We'll bring the arms out into like a T shape, a 90-degree angle of the body. Lift the feet off of the floor. Feet together, knees together if you can. If you can't keep your knees together, you might take a block or your blanket, put it in between your inner thighs. And we'll just take a twist over to the right with the thighs and the hips. The left hip will lift off of the floor, so you're really just on the outer right hip. You might notice that your left shoulder lifted, and if it did, that's okay. Don't try to force your shoulder to the floor, and if you're that stiff through the upper body and the hips, you might take the left arm up and past the ear. I like to rotate the arms so the left thumb points down. And just turn your head to the left towards the left arm and shoulder. And we'll pause here for a few breaths. You might even take your right hand to the outside of the left thigh, close to the knee. That feels so good after a nice strong workout to just pause and stretch. And by the way, I recommend stretching after a workout, not before. Like sustained held stretches. It's okay to do dynamic movements, functional movements, mobility drills before working out, but try not to do long held sustained stretches. It can actually weaken your muscles for about 30 minutes, so you won't be able to move as optimally or with as great a power and strength as you would have if you did more of the functional mobility drills. Okay, go ahead and sweep that left arm back out to 90 degrees. Squeeze your legs together to come back to neutral. You might pause at neutral, maybe move slightly a little to the left and the right. You can really feel the difference between the two sides here. Good, and then we'll squeeze the feet and the inner thighs together to take that twist over to the left. We got some really tight muscles on the right side today. And so my right shoulder is relatively lifted, as you can see, chest is pretty tight. So I'm just going to reach my right arm up and past the ear, create a little more space for myself. And it helps to lengthen the lats, which is what's really tight. The lats on my chest are really tight today. There's nothing wrong with being tight. I'd much rather be tight than have too much range of motion. It's gotta have a balance between your strength, your range of motion, your stability. Just enjoy the breath. Excellent. So I'll just go ahead and sweep that right arm back out to the side. Squeeze my thighs together to come out of the twist. I'm going to hold on to the knees and just rock a little side to side. All right, so we're done for the day. I like to finish with a quote after I teach, just to keep you all inspired. So I'm going to rock up into a seated position. You're welcome to join me here. So I'm so grateful that you joined me for this kind of warrior strength training and yoga fusion. It's been great to have you here. So the quote that I want to share today, life is what happens to you about 10% of the time, and 90% of the time is how you react to it. And I'm trying to remember the person who wrote that quote. I think it's Charles Swanson. So I hope I got that right. Thank you once again for joining me, and be looking for more Warrior Fit videos and also more yoga videos coming in the future. Namaste.